folks, but me, I'm on the pins and needles. I'm very anxious right now. I'm very nervous, very anticipatory. And it's not about whether Russia and Ukraine will be settled. It's not whether somebody can stop Netanyahu. Somebody, please. It's not whether Taylor's unfriended Blake. I don't know. No, like most people in America, I am most looking forward to reading a book. But when? When?
We're back with breaking news in our politics lead and a brand new excerpt from my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It's called Original Sin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's on Biden's decline. It's called Original Sin. I'm sure you've heard on May 20th. That's Tuesday. Original Sin. That's coming out in 3 weeks. On May 20th. That's just 19 days away. In 1 week and 1 day. Coming out in just a few days. Comes out Tuesday. You will not believe what we found out.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? You won't believe what we found out. No, that's why I'm watching. Breaking news in a week. Now, I don't know how the rest of the country is feeling about this book coming out, but I know New York is hyped. New York City, baby! The city! The city that never stops reading. That's our motto. Our motto is... I'm kidding, of course. That is footage from the reopening of the Frick Museum. By the way, it is New York, so you know the real name of the museum is the Collection. They just put it up there like, hey, the friggin' collection? What are we doing here? So what is this bombshell book about?
A new book is outlining new claims about former President Biden's physical and mental health. The book, Original Sin, claims Biden's health had become so severe that there were internal discussions about putting the president in a wheelchair.
He allegedly was napping during debate preparations.
Another bombshell. Former President Biden apparently forgot the name of his longtime aide, Jake Sullivan, and called him Steve.
My God! To be fair, when you forget a white guy's name, to be fair, and I say this with respect to the bombshell, Steve is not a bad guess. I think even Jake Sullivan at some point was like, is my name Steve? Because when I look in the mirror, I could be a Steve. Or a Scott, maybe a Craig. The point is, the American news media were hungry for more.
A new Biden bombshell.
Dropping bombshell allegations.
A steady drip of new revelations.
Damning claims.
Damaging new details.
Oh, my goodness, they're dripping with details. A massive tsunami, the drip on Joe Biden's decline.
My God, Fox News built an entire Biden sucks border wall to hold back the raging drips of details and bombshells. Nothing could slow down this coming feeding news frenzy about Biden's cognitive health, other than maybe a report on his actual physical health, which was not good. But now we got ourselves a little problem. You've prepared an entire smorgasbord. Smorgasbord. Charcuterie board You know what I'm talking about, meat and cheese. You know what I'm talking about. Entire smorgasbord based on what you thought would be a relatively uncomplicated story about mental decline. News has the countdown clock. They got the book graphics. They got the CNN Happy Meal tie-in toys. But now, doing the story seems almost disrespectful. Can CNN thread the needle? How do you pivot from excitedly promoting your anchor's book to somberly and respectfully promoting your anchor's book?
Biden's health was very much in the news even before the cancer diagnosis was announced on Sunday. That's because of a new book by CNN's Jake Tapper.
This was already going to be a tough week, and this makes it much harder. And that is a reference to the fact that our colleague, Jake Tapper, and Alex Thompson have a book that's set to publish on Tuesday.
This very tough news, this very challenging news, and at the same time, the backdrop of our colleague Jake Tapper's book with Alex Thompson coming out this week.
It's so hard. It's such a difficult time, so unfathomable in terms of the pain this family must be feeling. And yet, if you act now, and you use the code / tap that book, you will obviously this 20% off offer is not available for some reason in Tennessee. But the point is, forgetting about the fact how weird it is that the news is selling you a book about news they should have told you was news a year ago for free. It's just fun. It's just fun to watch them not only continue to push the book in light of this difficult news, but to actually frame this difficult news as perhaps even more of a reason to buy this book.
The timing of former President Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis is certainly dramatic, coming on the eve of a blockbuster new book about his health and his time in the White House.
Go on.
I'm sure some observers will say that the reporting in the book is even more important now.
Yet nobody's saying that. No observers will say it's more important now. Some observers might think, do these CNN people work on commission? Like, why are they hawking this fucking thing? Is this a Girl Scout cookie situation? Whoever sells the most Tapper books gets a schwinn. Now, well, that is not necessarily the model they will get. I don't want to disincentivize people from working hard, obviously. I don't go through all the graphics before the show. While CNN had to shift from somber and caring to always be closing, Fox and the rest of the right-wing media had a very different problem. How to shift from, let's go, Brandon, to, get well, Brandon. And then as quickly as possible back to, let's go, Brandon. Watch them work their magic and see how much weight the word but carries.
It's a terrible thing for him and his family, so I hope he beats it. But look.
I hope he beats it, but not too fast? You want to enjoy this? But what?
But look, I don't believe that they just found out Friday, but because they're not credible on anything they've done.
So true. Yeah, I'll bet he didn't find out Friday. I'll bet he found out like Wednesday. And then they were all like, oh my God, this is terrible. Should we tell this guy? And then they're like, oh, I don't know, why don't we tell the family first? And then they're like, yeah, but what this guy really wants to know. I got to tell you, I think this all really highlights an opening in the greeting card market. We don't have enough cards that swing wildly from sympathy to accusation. Praying you get well soon, but there are some holes in your timeline. There are, I don't know, Friday, Wednesday. Anyone else want to do this butt pivot, the tush push?
Obviously, hope for a speedy recovery. I will say it does raise serious questions.
You hate to see something like this happen, but it just raised all these questions.
We're all, of course, praying for President Biden's full recovery. But the reality is,
I hope he gets over this. But
number one, very sorry for his diagnosis and wish him the best. Number two,
I am trying to make a very serious point here. And I find it very difficult to do that when you throw in a totally weird-looking dude right in the middle of it. That's not fair. That is not fair to do. That is, I don't know if that was like a green screen thing, but whatever's happening here, I imagine if I had a nodule on my prostate, this is what it might look like. I believe just a little bit. Why would you get the worst possible haircut for your head shape? Why would you do that? My head is long and thin. Amplify that. Looks like if a kosher hot dog asked for a Hitler Youth haircut. Respectfully. Yes, right-wing media deftly pivoted from concern to accusation, but perhaps the most shocking response of all was from the commander-in-chief himself.
President Trump posted, "Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery."
That's it. No exclamation points, no all caps, no insults. Whole thing spelled correctly. It's really got all the telltale signs of a post definitely written by Donald Trump. I look at this post, I swear to God, on Truth Social. I wonder when they saw this post, Truth Social sent him a security alert. They just sent him a quick message. We noticed some suspicious humanity on your account. If this was, in fact, you, President Trump, please reply, Nancy Pelosi's husband is gay. Just reply that. But the fact that Trump responded to Biden's diagnosis with the most pro forma, bare minimum ChatGPT statement was so astonishing. Even the corrupt lamestream media gave Trump his props.
This is a very traditional comment in this moment from President Trump to former President Biden.
I mean, it's a very human, very traditional response from President Trump.
I was very, very pleased to see President Trump putting forward such a kind statement.
I will note, as an ardent Democrat, it's really important that I speak up and thank President Trump for his gracious statement.
Couple of things. It is not important that you speak up at all. As a Democrat, as anything, it is not important. What he did was not noteworthy and important. Has any president, has any person ever had a lower bar to clear than, I have to salute the president. I have to salute the president. I certainly disagree with him on many things, but I have to applaud that after hearing this devastating news about Joe Biden, that Donald did not take cancer's side. Yeah, I'm f***ing swinging tonight. So important as we as Americans. And by the way, Trump maintained that level of gravitas for almost an entire day.
Do you want to respond to President Biden being diagnosed with cancer?
I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time.
To be fair, I do think if Biden was at stage 9, we should have found out about that. I don't even know that. And he's the one that's fine, right? There's no book coming out on him. He's fine. He's that'll be the next, stage 9 cancer. Is that, that's the kind that grows up like an ivy into a building? Not playing. But you know what? Maybe it is another cover-up. I don't know. If they came out and said, yeah, Biden knew about it 5 years ago, I wouldn't be shocked. If they came out and said Biden found out on Friday, I wouldn't be shocked. And I understand the excitement over an insidious Democratic cover-up about Joe Biden's mental decline. The thing is, though, it was a terrible cover-up because we all f***ing knew. All of us knew. There was no cover-up. Poll after poll showed vast majorities of the public thought Biden was too old and too out of it to run again. Dean Phillips mounted an entire primary campaign because of it. I really don't know if that's Dean Phillips. Is that Dean Phillips? My point is this. There is a very real person in this shot, probably named Dean Phillips. Or Steve. And he might be in the shot, but he, along with most of the public, knew that it was a bad idea for Biden to run. We knew it. And that's what's so hilarious about politicians. The cover-up doesn't work when everyone knows you're lying. And everyone knows you're lying. The tell is when you're so over the top about what you don't want to tell the truth about.
Joe Biden is incredibly competent and he's incredibly effective.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game.
He has more energy than I do. He works us all under the table.
I can't even keep up with him.
3 hours on photo lines, on 3 events a day, then giving speeches. Are you kidding?
I mean, come on! That's insane! 3 hours on photo lines, 3 events a day, that's 9 hours of photo lines, and then giving speeches, and then at night fighting crime. I have said too much. Come on. They gotta f***ing steroid test these dudes. Look, they used to say it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. But it's starting to feel like politics is all cover-up. Crime or not. In an attempt to hold on to power, political actors do anything they can to project a reality distortion field when all known evidence is to the obvious contrary, and the media, tasked with covering them, has somehow ended up inside the bubble with them. So for those of you watching at home who might like to know what the reality of what they're hiding about our current president would be, look not to the Democrats. Look not to the media. Look to the president's political allies, because their hyperbole is the indictment.
Trump is one of the most transparent presidents of all time.
The bravest, toughest man in the world.
Enormous compassion.
He's only been bound to we, the people. It's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit.
Nobody believes that Donald Trump can be bought.
One of the most moral leaders we've had.
His pure honesty.
The most ethical American I know.
Tapper's 2031 book, it's gonna be lit!
Let's start with Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, and One Woman Kill Shelter. She's in charge of the country's pathway to citizenship, which for hundreds of years has been a solemn, dignified process for achieving the American dream. But what if, instead, it was tacky and gross?
A surreal report that could turn immigration into a TV show. The Trump administration says it's in the very beginning stages of the vetting process for a reported immigrant reality TV show where immigrants would compete to prove they are the most American with a chance to win U.S. citizenship.
A reality TV show for citizenship is somehow the most un-American and most American thing I've ever heard of. Although we already have a contest to prove who's the most American, and it's called the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. What's more American than eating until your colon explodes and then going bankrupt from medical bills? But let me be clear, I hate this idea. Unless they're looking for a host, then I love this idea. And I'm available on Fridays. I will say it might be a nicer way to get deported. Instead of ICE agents disappearing you up in unmarked vehicles, Ryan Seacrest walks into your living room with a TV crew and is like, Carlos, we're taking you out of the USA. But meanwhile, Kristi Noem was testifying in Congress today about whether her administration is deporting people without habeas corpus, which is their right to due process. If you didn't know what habeas corpus was, don't worry, Kristi Noem didn't Google it either.
What is habeas corpus? Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to...
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
Okay, look, if Kristi Noem was just a random person on the street, I get it. If she was like, habeas corpus, that's a Harry Potter spell, right? Like, makes you invisible. But the Secretary of Homeland Security should know that habeas corpus prevents the president from deporting you without due process. Not that it lets the president deport you without due process. That's the opposite of what it means. And I didn't know you could have dyslexia for laws. Either way, Noem whiffed hard on that question. But unfortunately for her, the quiz was just beginning.
Do you know what section of the Constitution the suspension clause of habeas corpus is in?
I do not. No.
Do you know which article it is in?
No, I do not, sir.
Okay, well, it is in Article 1.
It was in 1. It was the first. You didn't even read the first one. So can you stop? We get it, okay? Stop asking her harder questions. Like, how would senators like it if Kristi Noem asked you questions that she was an expert in, huh? Hey, Senator Kim, do you know how to trick a puppy into walking into an open grave? No, not so smart now, are you? Anyway, Kristi Noem, you still don't know the basics of American law, so I'm sorry to say, we're gonna have to take you out of USA. But luckily, I know. Won them back after the dog killing jokes. But luckily for America, Kristi Noem isn't the only one in charge of keeping the country safe. We also got Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, two guys who look like they should be henchmen in a Ninja Turtles movie, but are somehow running the FBI now. And before he took over, Dan Bongino wasn't afraid to tell us the truth about what the FBI was covering up.
Nobody knows how much material people have on Jeffrey Epstein. It's unbelievable. The guy killed himself, and now nobody's going to know.
Yeah, exactly. Epstein killed himself? Ugh. Bongino knows the truth, and now he and Kash Patel get to see all the files. So on Sunday, they sat down for an interview to tell us what really happened. Because we know Epstein didn't just kill himself.
He killed himself.
What? He killed himself without air quotes? That is the craziest thing I've ever heard, all right? I was a single-issue voter on this. Why did you change your mind?
As a public defender, as a prosecutor who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
Again, you want me to... I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I've never seen someone so sad that the deep state didn't kill someone. And also, hey, you can't talk so much shit about how the deep state did this and make it your entire personality, and then now you're in it and you're like just shrugging it off like, oh yeah, I guess they were right the first time they investigated this. Hey, if you fail that hard, you gotta let Hillary Clinton kill you, all right? And finally, look, yeah, I don't know what we're cheering for. And finally, let's talk about the Department of Transportation. Recently, air travel in America has become what's known in the industry as totally f***ed. And I'm sure Secretary Sean Duffy has been working on a great plan to fix it.
We are moving Jesus out of the basement.
What? What, is that the new air traffic controller? Because that's what we need right now.
To all the great midshipmen at the Merchant Marine Academy, you let me know how important this painting was to all of you. Now, we all know it was taken out of a place of prominence and put down in the basement. I worked with the Academy, and because this is such a historic painting, I'm announcing that through that work with the Academy, this painting is going to go from the basement back to its place of prominence. It'll be a moment to celebrate.
Oh, thank God. No. Thank God, because when my plane is going down, I can tell the person next to me, don't worry, that's a shitty Jesus painting. It's upstairs at the Merchant Marine Academy now. Let's kick things off with President Trump's meeting with the president of South Africa today. And because it's Donald Trump, things got weird.
Death, horrible death. I don't know.
What a host. Death. Hey, do you want a Diet Coke? Yeah. Death, horrible death. Now, the reason Trump turned this White House event into a murder podcast is that Trump is convinced that there is a white genocide going on in South Africa, which of course means there is no white genocide happening in South Africa. It's not even mathematically possible. I mean, you'll never run out of white South Africans when one of them is making 5,000 kids a week. But still, Trump thinks there is one, and you know he cares about it because he said white genocide. It's like someone told him, hey, it's not just a genocide, it's a white genocide, you know, the bad kind. And Trump's like, oh shit, get him in. But don't worry, South African president, there's a way out of this. Qatar got Trump a plane. What sweet, sweet bribe did you bring him?
I brought you a really fantastic golf book. Weighs 14 kilograms. And it showcases the golf courses in our country.
Yeah, you f***ed that up. You lost Trump at book, and you definitely lost him at kilograms. If you really want to impress Trump, you should have given him one of your golf courses. Then Trump would be like, hell yeah. Sorry, white South Africans, if that's even a real thing. Thoughts and prayers. Let's move on from a fake international crisis to a real domestic one. If you bought any Trump merchandise, I don't want to surprise you, but it might be a piece of junk.
Trump time. A mistake on a Donald Trump keepsake might be funny to some.
But it wasn't a laughing matter for the couple who paid more than $600 for the Trump-branded watch.
Get your Trump watch right now. Go to gettrumpwatches.com. It's Trump time.
Melanie Pettit likes the style, but it's what this watch does not have that makes it stand out.
I noticed it right away. The T is missing. It just says RUMP.
So it should say Trump.
Should say Trump.
Instead,
it says Rump.
What a shocking story. I mean, truly, I did not expect them to be able to read. And you might be thinking, what kind of respectable horological craftsman of luxury timepieces would allow this to happen? Well, it turns out watches might just be their side business.
New eye-popping details about Donald Trump's watches, and there's a link to Viagra Honey.
And this is a product that is born out of a licensing agreement with a company called The Best Watches on Earth, LLC. And there is another company at this business registered at the same address called The Best Honey on Earth. They sell male enhancement honey, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a product that helps men perform in the bedroom.
Wait, everyone shut up. Stop laughing. There's boner honey? This changes everything. I mean, I guess this does explain why that honey I bought looks so weird. But, you know, Trump's going to be bathing in that like the Baron in Dune. But I just hope that those watches have like a little warning label on them, like you do for people with nut allergies. Like, warning, this watch was manufactured in a plant that also processes honey. The point is, when Donald Trump sells you something, you gotta be skeptical. And I'm so glad we all learned our lesson. On an unrelated note, Donald Trump's got something new to sell us.
This morning, President Trump revealing his plans for a Golden Dome, a defense system designed to shield the U.S. from missile attacks.
The Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space.
The Congressional Budget Office says it could cost up to $542 billion.
Good news, everyone. Congress is cutting food stamps, but we're getting a Golden Dome. Yeah, if you're hungry, maybe you can try eating it. Quick question, though. Where did Trump come up with Golden Dome?
The president has long praised Israel's Iron Dome, which can intercept and destroy short-range rockets, missiles, and drones.
We're going to call it the Golden Dome. We had the Iron Dome, but somehow Golden Dome sounds better to me.
You know, it takes a special leader to look at what's going on in Israel and be like, hey, we need to copy those guys, all right? Because it's going great. Second of all, I don't think missile defense shields work like frequent flyer programs, all right? Hey, check it out. Our dome just earned gold status. I hope China doesn't get a platinum dome, then they get lounge access. And by the way, the poster board he put up just raises even more questions. Like, why is every country launching missiles at us? It's starting to look like a us problem. But you know what? I guess the money is worth it if it's capable of defending all of America.
A missile shield in the U.S. will not be capable of defending all of America.
I'm a missile defense guy, but it's never going to be possible to defend against everything. And so we are going to have to be selective.
Gonna have to be selective? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, what, just save New York and LA and what, the states with good barbecue? Actually, yeah, that works. Yeah, let's go with that. The bottom line is it's incredibly expensive and it doesn't work. But at least we'll have a Golden Dome that says Trump on it. So last night, House Republicans packed their entire agenda into one enormous bill that's over 1,000 pages long. The question is, what do you call an enormous bill that crams together every single Republican issue?
One big, beautiful bill. I'd like to name it that if you can.
Really? Big, beautiful bill? That's the best you could come up with? It's a stupid name. Okay? Also, that's what Jordan Hudson calls Bill Belichick. All right? The point is, nobody is going to go along with that.
President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. One Big Beautiful Bill. Trump's Big Beautiful Bill.
Freut sich denn jetzt am meisten über Trumps Big Beautiful Bill?
Mein Gott, I guess they are going to go along with it. It's a big, beautiful bill. The BBB. Although it is reminding some people of something else.
Even if you're getting excitement from Capitol Hill and the White House over the BBL, that the big, beautiful bill. Sorry.
Share your screen right now. Right now, share it, or this interview is over. I love how flustered he got after that. It's the BBL. Oh, sorry. I mean butts. I mean big juicy asses. Okay. Now, for those who don't know, a BBL stands for Brazilian butt lift. It is a procedure that some women get to enlarge their posteriors, and it's quite popular with Instagram ass models, or so I'm told. I wouldn't know because my For You page is nothing but photos of my beautiful wife. I love you, baby. I would never follow 17 female golfers with huge asses online. This is the one show this year my wife actually came to. She's watching this right now. But after months of negotiating last night, Republicans stayed up all night and passed the Big Beautiful Bill. And maybe BBL was a better name because this bill is thick and mostly ass.
Here's what's in it. It extends the president's signature 2017 tax cuts, and that's at a cost of about $4 trillion. And that's paid for in part by nearly $700 billion in cuts to Medicaid, that health care program for those on the lower end of the income scale.
It also comes with cuts to social safety nets like food stamps.
Wow, cutting health care and food stamps to pay for tax cuts. I mean, the only way this could be more cartoonishly mean to poor people is if it said Bob Cratchit has to work on Christmas Day. He's just a frog. Why does he have to work at all? But this vote was very controversial, even among Republicans who didn't like how it increased the debt by $4 trillion. Do you realize how much money $4 trillion is? No, you don't, because none of it went to education. The point is, some Republicans were resisting this bill. So to get it passed, Donald Trump needed to use all of his political powers of persuasion.
Trump made the rare journey to the Hill to meeting with House Republicans behind closed doors for 90 minutes for what he says was just a pep talk.
He called out members by name. He threw the F-bomb around.
I have seen time and time again, they're dragged out of the House floor and back into the Republican members' cloakroom, and they're handed a cell phone, and it's Donald Trump literally yelling at them and cursing at them.
Politics used to be deals and handshakes, and pass my bill and I'll do something for you. Now Trump is just like, pass my bill or I'll kill you. I'll kill you and I'll date your wife. But look, the bill isn't just about taking health care from poor people to give rich people tax cuts. I'm sure there's something in there for the rest of you.
Some provisions tucked into the bill. One of them eliminates the $200 firearm registration fee for gun silencers.
Yeah, let's see, that was added by Rhode Island Representative John Wick. What's the benefit of making it slightly cheaper to buy silencers? I mean, is there an assassin out there who's like, hey, I got my shot lined up, but first, let me call my accountant to see how this affects my deductions? I mean, maybe it's better if silencers are more affordable. Now, when a mass shooter is going through a classroom, the other classrooms can keep learning. As you can imagine, though, Democrats are not fans of the Big Beautiful Bill, and they're ready to roast it with some slam poetry.
It is not one big, beautiful bill. It's a big billionaire's bankroll bill.
It's a big, disgraceful betrayal of the American people.
This bill is brutal. It is not
beautiful. I just don't see what Republicans find beautiful about this ugly bill.
It's not beautiful, it's ugly.
It has wrinkles, warts, festering sores, and scars.
Okay, we get it, but that's a little too specific. It sounds like you're describing something personal. This bill is gross and weird and has a mole with hair growing out of it and it's changing color. I'm talking about the bill. But should it see a doctor? Should it see a doctor, just hypothetically speaking?